From our mezzanine on Orchid Street in Quezon City, Philippines, I'm John Grimmett, one man from planet Earth. And if you've wondered what lockdown is like in Manila, well, today I'm going to show you. Well, I've been putting it off for a long time, understandably. It's not exactly nice out there. But you know, we're under COVID lockdown, just like everybody else in the world. And so I finally decided I would take a walk on the streets while doing a little shopping as well, because really you're not supposed to go outside at all, of course, unless you're planning to pick up some essentials. So I decided to take a walk from our house on Orchid Street in Quezon City to the nearest big supermarket. That would be SM Fairview, not far away. And as I was walking along, I took notes on the traffic and the checkpoints and generally how things are looking and feeling out there. So let's watch a video now as I take us on a tour from home to the supermarket under lockdown in Manila. Well, here we are at Maligaya Street, which is a fairly small avenue, but a typical street of Quezon City in Metro Manila. And what I wanted to do was show you a little bit of what lockdown looks like here in our neighborhood. We are beginning to see some slight lightening up of the lockdown, but for now it's still very much in force. You can see all the stores are closed. We do have, I think, a bakery here that's open with plastic in the front. And that's one thing. They put plastic in the front to protect from any kind of particles or anything. Everything, if it's a restaurant, it's open takeout only. 7-Elevens are open. Convenience stores are considered essential, so they are kept open. This over here is a checkpoint. This goes into a certain barangay. I am seeing a slight increase in traffic just since yesterday because things are changing a little bit. If you see a jeepney on the road, it is being used for private service. And that was one right there. They are not being used to transport public. Private cars are of course allowed, so we get a lot of those around here. But so far no public transportation has been reinstated. You do, however, see these days especially more delivery. Now this street, Maligaya, is really a smaller street that leads into a couple of subdivisions like the one I live in. And this is the one, it's called Bloomfields. Very pretty, and in a previous video I made, I took you on a tour of Bloomfields. We'll put that up on YouTube soon as well. A lot of beautiful trees along the way. Fairview Terraces is one of the big malls. There are 3 big malls in this neighborhood, and Fairview Terraces is one of them. Once again, you see no public transportation at all. Traffic is quite light. Even when I get out to the main road out here, you'll also see very little public transportation. Okay, so the next place I take you then will be up to the checkpoint that I'm going to go through. By the way, right up there in Terraces Mall, there is a pharmacy, Mercury Drugs. I go there sometimes. And pharmacies like, for example, yes sir, kind of got in his way a little bit, but pharmacies like Mercury Drugs and like convenience stores such as 7-Eleven do remain open. Delivery vans and shuttle services are allowed to run. And I think that just this week, they started, just yesterday even, they started running delivery services more. So we're seeing more delivery motorcycles such as Grab. Grab Food is running. My wife has been able to get some deliveries from an online shopping site called Lazada. And we got a lot of things that we're trying to buy, small things that we're trying to buy from there. Okay, I'll turn off the video, and then the next one I show you will be of the checkpoint that I have to pass through. Well, here I am approaching the checkpoint I have to go through for Maligaya Street to get out to SM Fairview, which is a big mega mart. They're eating. Every time I go by here, they're eating something. But these are neighborhood checkpoint guards, and I have to show them, I think. Hi.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Just making a little video for my family.
Okay.
Do you need to see my pass or anything?
Okay, okay.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. You're very friendly.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. They offered me some food. Come and eat, Mom. Well, so I got through that. They did not have to take a look at my pass, but I had it ready. The quarantine pass. I also usually have to include not only my ID, which is my passport, but I also have to include my wife's ID, since hers is the name that's on the pass. Now, this is a very good view. This is from the top of a pedestrian bridge, and this will show you actually what the traffic's like under lockdown. Congressional Avenue is a major thoroughfare. It runs virtually the entire length of Quezon City, and as you can see, there's very little traffic on it. Anybody who's operating any kind of trike or jeepney, and I don't see any of those right now, but if we did see them, they would be employed for private transportation only. Usually only the owners of the jeepneys or trikes, the license holders, would be on the streets with those, carrying their families around. Now, but you don't see anything like that. Only private vehicles and very little. And there just went an army jeep. Now I'm going to go back around. Our destination is SM Fairview. This is a very large mall, and it's actually under extension. Here we go, looking the other way now just to see what Congressional Avenue looks like under lockdown. Almost no traffic. You could easily walk across this street without paying too much attention to what's coming your way. You'd have to be careful, but you can do it at the right time. And that down there is the checkpoint I just went through. They are a little bit lenient. They're not too hard. I think if they know you, they know who you are, then they don't check you that much. Next video is coming from the front entrance to SM Fairview. Well, here we are approaching the entrance to SM Fairview. Notice the different kinds of masks that people are wearing as we go in. Pretty much 100% of everybody will have masks. Sometimes they pull them down a little bit to stay a little cool. Now, for many weeks in the beginning of the lockdown, you'd see long lines out here with people standing 1 to 2 meters apart. Those lines would stretch all the way along this sidewalk, but that is not the case anymore. But we do still have a few people who are walking up and checking the scene. What they're going to do when I go to the checkpoint is they'll ask for my quarantine pass and an ID. Then they'll check my temperature and spray my hands with some sanitizer. That's what they'll do. All right, I'm going to turn it off now. I don't want to make these people nervous. Okay, well, it's going to be a long wait. This is the entrance to the SM hypermarket at SM Fairview, and you can see here the social distancing. Everybody is waiting in chairs. They control the number of people who can go into the store at one time. And so we'll be moving back here and waiting. It looks like this restaurant, Zart's Burgers, is open. They do seem to be open. And that was not the case last week. So there are some openings happening. The thing is starting to peel back a little bit. They're becoming more lenient. And hopefully on May 15, we'll have a general quarantine, which will be a little less strict than the total lockdown. But this is what it looks like, folks. You have to wait for a long time. There are military hanging around, so I'm going to stop the video for now. And I finally figured out the social distancing procedure. What they're doing here is they have 15 rows of chairs. There are 10 chairs in each row, and let me adjust my glasses here. That looks a little bit better. And so what we do is we advance forward. Each row, each of the 15 rows will advance forward. They're letting 10 people into the store at one time. And that is how they're managing their social distancing here. So, all right, very interesting to see the procedure and to map it all out. It's like this everywhere. When they go under general quarantine, you're going to find even more of this. I think that having controlled entry and social distancing like this may be a very good answer to help solving the spread of the coronavirus. And I'd rather see that than having total lockdown, no transportation, and very few opportunities for shopping. Okay, well, the next video will be back at our mezzanine on Orchid Street here in Quezon City. Yeah, you know, once we made it inside the store, things were pretty easygoing, actually. It's a lot like a normal shopping experience. There are some sections of the store that are running out of stocks after several weeks of feeling like everything was pretty much in place. Now we're finally finding that supplies are starting to run low on certain items. For example, I went shopping for some housewares today, but there are very few actually worth buying. None of the housewares on my list were actually available in the store. This included simple items such as cutting boards. My wife wanted me to buy a cutting board, but I wasn't able to get one. Also, certain power adapters, electrical outlets are not available at the moment. Some things still are. I didn't even see any extension cords. So hardware and electric materials are starting to run out. In terms of food, it does look like everything is still being supplied. So that's pretty good. When you get to the checkout line, you'll have to, again, wait in a long line. They are keeping everybody in straight lines, going all the way back down the grocery aisles from the cashier points if necessary. They also have special aisles for the frontline helpers, frontline workers, as well as for other categories of people who are doing the shopping. So all of this makes for a very difficult, uncomfortable, but nevertheless interesting experience. I hope it won't go on too much longer. The way it's looking right now, we're scheduled for the current extension of the extended community quarantine or total lockdown to go on until May 15. And then after that, well, we'll see what the President of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, has to say next. He might go into a general quarantine, which will be a little bit more relaxed, but nevertheless, it'll still feel a lot like lockdown does now. Let's just see what happens on May 15, whether everybody returns to normal, or at least public transportation resumes. That'll be a very interesting point indeed. Now, another question that you might have as you're watching this video is, well, how do I feel about it all? Well, I'm pretty worn out by it. I've gone through a lot of undulations and emotion and feeling, locked down, quite unable to move. We came to the Philippines, my wife, my son, and I, from Korea, just in February, actually February 21, just as the COVID-19 coincidentally was beginning in Korea. We didn't flee Korea because of the COVID-19, but we did just make it out in time. So it was a very interesting experience there as well. But we had plans. We wanted to move. We wanted to get things done, get a house, get a job, possibly plan on moving, of all places, to China. Now that's been completely put off for at least a year because of the COVID-19 in China. Also here in the Philippines. So we're waiting for things to start moving again so we can get back to doing what we came here to do in the first place. That's a bit how we feel. On the other hand, if that lockdown is lifted too soon, we may see thousands or tens of thousands of illnesses all of a sudden, many of whom will probably die from it. So that is another source of fear or worry going forward. For many of us, it won't make a bit of difference much. We'll just be able to carry on with our usual lives. But for a lot of us, it will still be a very fear-racked period. So let's see how it goes. If you'd like to send us one of your lockdown videos with commentary, or not, just the video, please do. Send it to us at village.earth.radio@gmail.com. That's my Gmail address, and you can send a video or commentary that way. Look for us on YouTube as well. We look forward to being in touch with you. From Village Earth Radio, I'm John Grimmett, one man on Village Earth. See you next time.
Ili tuluganay wala diri imunanay kadto cinta bakal babay.